Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you guys don't know me, my name is Tim Chu. I'm a lifestyle and tech creator here on YouTube, and it's great to see you. It's great to have you here. Now this week I want to talk about something special, and it's about my data analytics and business intelligence degree from the University of Washington, Seattle. I feel like there's this taboo around data analytics, and it's kind of like this Pandora's box around it where people just think it's this black magic technology, things like that, but no, it's just typically a couple lines of code. But before I dive deeper into those specific topics, I actually wanted to talk about my degree and what actually makes me qualified to maybe even talk about these things. At the same time, I thought it'd be great to really shed light on what a 4-year degree might actually mean for you. So there are so many ways to really get into analytics these days. You might be considering a boot camp versus a 4-year track. So my goal with this video is to hopefully help you and shed some light on what the degree actually provided for me. So I went to the University of Washington from 2017 to 2020. So this year, I am fresh off of graduating. So what degree did I get from the University of Washington, Seattle? Well, I doubled in informatics and communications. But I will be primarily focusing on informatics because that's the major that really focuses on analytics, and it was just the major I really spent most of my time on at the university. So you might be thinking, what even is informatics? This is the best way that I've described it when talking to friends and just family when they've asked me what informatics is. So it's a major that really exposes you to 3 fundamentals of tech. So it's software development, data analytics, and human-computer interaction. Now it's 3 fundamental building blocks that really set you up for tech. I like to call it the project management major because it really glosses over all 3 aspects, and you're able to really hone in on which one you want to focus on the most during your time at university. But the key thing is that you're getting exposure to all 3 and you get experience in all 3 categories. Now, the area that I chose to dive deep into is data analytics and data science. It took me a while to get to that point, but we'll talk about that in a sec. So the University of Washington is very interesting because it is such a large school. So there's one aspect that's really tough for me to comprehend at times, and it's the fact that it's a capacity constrained major. So what that means is that students like us, we already applied to get into school, but we have to apply again to get into a major. So when you come in typically undeclared if you didn't come in with a direct admit into a specific major. Now it's crazy because most of these majors, it can be up to highest 15 to 20% acceptance to get in. Something else to note too is that the University of Washington is a quarter-based school, so it's not a university that does semester. Yeah, we're quarter-based. We have 3 quarters in every year, 4 technically with summer. Let's reminisce and talk about my time at undergrad. All right, so let's start off with autumn 2017. So my first quarter at UW, I actually took English 182, which is a multimodal composition class. Now, looking at my transcript right now, I remember it being just a super easy class. This was just a basic composition course that I needed to fulfill a requirement. I also took a Gen Study 199. So this is my FIG class. If you don't know what FIG is, it's called First Year Interest Group, and it's a way to, as a freshman, meet new people through classes, which is awesome. So I took a FIG, and then I also took Math 125. Now this class is Calculus 2. I had the absolute worst professor. I remember specifically one student asked, hey, are you gonna post these notes online? Because he would always handwrite his notes, under a projector, it's the 5th grade or something. I remember a student asked that, and he literally just said no. He was like, no. And we're all just like, bruh. Excuse me? So this class was extremely difficult. I actually ended up going to a different professor during this time. It was tough. I remember I did okay in the class. I got like a 3.3, nothing crazy. It was a great introduction to university and the bullshit that was about to come ahead. Next, let's see, I took Music 325. This was literally a movie watching class. It was just an easy filler class. I really tried to take this quarter lightly. I took only 1 STEM class to really make it easy for me to come into university and not be stressed. Now, winter 2018. Now, this quarter in particular was very interesting. So yeah, the first class I took was CSC 142. Now this class is the introductory to programming class. So we actually learned Java in this first class. I took this class. I remember me and my roommate now, I remember we were so bored. We would each take energy drink, shots of espresso, right before this class to stay awake. But each time, no matter what, every single day, we'd fall asleep. And we wake up to the rustle of people just getting up. This class was just so boring for us, and we couldn't get past it. We studied really hard. Yeah, it was a good class. It was a fun class looking back, and I highly recommend it for anyone who just wants to get into some basic programming. Do I do anything with Java these days? not at all. Next was just a filler class, ESS 101. This class was called Rocks for Jocks. It's just another filler class. It's nothing crazy. Don't recommend it. It actually got really hard. You have to really memorize like, geology and rocks and stuff, and ain't nobody got time for that. And then the final class I took in winter 2018 was Math 126. Now, this class I remember was really tough because this is Calculus 3. So this is 3D calculus, and you need to have a particular way of thinking to really be good at this class. And for me, thinking XY was very simple, but once you got into Z, for me, that's when it became really challenging. I ended up doing really bad in this class because it just didn't click with me. I don't know why. Growing up, I was great at math, but just for some reason, this class I didn't do well. Now in spring 2018, I took CS 143. This is the next level in the introductory programming class. Yeah, this class in particular was really tough though. They dove deep into trees, but just like nodes, and like it got deep into very technical Java. It was such a big jump, I feel like, from 142. Now I wish that this didn't exist, but so UW has this thing called weed out classes. Now what weed out classes are, it's intentionally more difficult classes that the university provides so that it's harder to get into specific majors at UW. So like for instance, if you do well in this class, it looks very good on your application when you get in. But when you do bad in this class, it's like you're F, you're not gonna get into CS, right? Now UW has a lot of these classes across all its majors. So you have to really be aware of which ones are weed outs and which ones are not. For CS 143, it's definitely a weed out class, and it screwed me over really badly because I did really bad in this class. This is probably the worst grade I had in all of university, and it really pushed me away from not only computer science, but also software development. Because I wasn't doing well in this class, I didn't think I could be a developer. That's something that I wish like it didn't instigate in for me, because just because I don't do well in this class doesn't mean I can't be a developer, right? I wish they would really emphasize that or talk about that more in the class, because like or just be completely transparent about what this class is, because it really isn't fair for a lot of people who choose not to go into the development world because of this. Next, I took Design 166 this class. Now I thought, hey, if the development world wasn't for me, maybe I can go into design. I would do pretty well, but not enough to get into the major. Next, I took HCDE 210. This was another human-centered design class to really get myself into the UX mindset. Now, taking all three of these classes, that was a mistake on my end, because people actually recommend you to take each of these classes individually per quarter, but I took them all in one quarter because I didn't know. No one told me, right? It was because of this quarter, actually, I couldn't get into all three of those majors, which is funny to think about now. It was a mistake on my end, but the university wasn't as forgiving. They saw a bad grade and they said, well, sorry, man. That was a shame, honestly, but it's what it is. I also took Music 100, which is University Singers. It was a gospel choir class. It was so much fun. Just a filler 1 credit to take with my friends and just have a good time. All right. Next quarter, man, okay, I gotta speed through this. For summer 2018, this year I took a summer quarter because I felt like I was behind. I wanted to just get more exposure into different areas, see what fit for me. At this time, I was trying to go more towards UX design and try to get into HCDE, which is Human-Centered Design and Engineering. Spoiler alert, I didn't get in. They have a science requirement, so you need 15 credits of science courses. Do I know why for a design major? No, I don't know why you need 15 credits of science, but I had to take 2 courses, so I took those 2. I took Biology 118, which was anatomy, terrible at memorizing things, so didn't do that well. And Psych 101, again, terrible at memorizing things. Didn't work well for me. Autumn 2018, so my sophomore year, I took 3 courses this quarter. I took Info 102, which is a gender studies class, made me more aware of women in tech and what that means. I took Psych 202. I remember this class being an 830 and I was absolutely dying. This was actually my worst grade. Whoa, I had a 1.6. God damn. And then next I took Stats 221. I hate stats. I'm actually really bad at stats. I remember this class was just filler again to get me the general credits I needed to move forward in the majors I don't want to apply for. Winter 2019, I took Chem 142. This is the introductory course to chemistry. And again, I did pretty bad because yeah, I'm not a science person. Yeah, it's just not really the classes for me. So props to all you med students out there. I cannot do what you do or what you even did. Like, respect. This is a quarter I started taking more info classes, actually. So I took Info 101, which is like a social networking class. I remember this was a weird one because it was like a game and it was really easy. If you scored enough points in this class, it was like literally a game, like XP almost. You got a 4.0. So yeah, I got a 4.0, it was easy. After that, I took Info 200, which is the introductory to the info major. You need this to apply as well. I didn't really know that. I was just trying to see if info was for me, and it was good. It was a fun class. At this time though, I remember learning about informatics and actually not liking it. I remember thinking, oh, like data isn't for me. I'm gonna go down UX. data isn't for me, I'm gonna go down software development or like some other path. It's funny, I found out the data world is actually for me. So next, spring 2019. Now, keep in mind though, I am still undeclared by the end of this quarter. Typically, at the end of your sophomore year, you're supposed to find your major. I didn't know what I wanted to do still. So this quarter, I decided to just lay off STEM. I was like, I need a break from anything related to STEM at all, or I'm gonna go insane. This quarter, I took Comm 200, which is Introduction to Comm. I also took Comm 289 and Education 200. These were all just basic courses that I took to, one, see if the comm major was for me, but two, Education 200 is just a filler class as well. So this quarter was just to take a break, but also experiment with communications and seeing if that was, the major for me. I didn't take a summer quarter. I needed a break from school because I was 7 quarters straight without a break. So I needed a break. So next, we're going into autumn 2019. So I took HCDE 318, Info 312, and Korean 101. So for 318, I loved that class. I 4.0'd it. It was amazing because it was the first time that a class and the content in it really clicked with me. This class really talked about the UX design cycle and what goes on with it and the processes that you must go to be an effective UX designer. And for me, I really love that because I've always been someone who values people's opinions, and it really showed me the way to do things right when it comes to tech, and it's to really be focused on the users. But if you're at the UW, if you can take this class, I really recommend this one. It taught me a lot of fundamentals that I would not have known without it. Info 312, that was just a risk management class. It was kind of a filler for me too. I took it just to take it. It was just a filler class for me. Korean 101, I wanted to get better Korean, so I tried to take it. But the number of freaking Koreaboos in this class was ridiculous. I swear, like everyone named Mama knew more Korean than I did. And like, I'm full Korean. I was just trying to learn some basics and fundamentals, but like everyone out here just spitting sentences left and right, like conversations. I'm like, literally like 90% of the class was in Korean. I'm like, that's so dumb. So actually, this is the only class that I ever dropped. Yeah, okay, we'll move on for that. All right, 2020, winter 2020. Ooh, pandemic quarter. So the pandemic really started at the end of this quarter, but throughout it, I was still learning. So this time I took 3 info courses. These 3 were not pivotal to me getting into the analytics at all. These are just more filler as well. But I took Info 331, which is Information Architecture. This class actually went off of HCD 318 very well. It went through a design process similar, and I love this class and the professor who taught it as well. After this, I took Info 386, which is Professionalism. Now, this class is the most underrated class in all of informatics, in my opinion. It taught me things like how to write an email, how to write a concise and informative document, how to make it very readable. Now, this was very counter education for me because growing up, we've always been taught like, oh, MLA citation, like making sure it's like an essay, things like that. Like this class taught very clear foundations on how to write a very informative and clear document. I love this class so much. Laura as well, who was my professor, we would stay in contact for years to come, and she was incredible. Very thankful because I write my emails very well because of her. Info 468, this was designing for personal health and wellness. This was just another design class that I wanted to experiment with. So for this quarter, spring 2020, keep in mind it was all online. It was all in the pandemic. So I took Info 201. It's called Tech Foundations, but what they taught you was R. It's a coding language that is mainly research focused. So if you're a researcher, you probably code in R. Typically in tech, I would say the only people who code in R maybe are business people, because that's like the language that they teach at most business schools. For me, I never really liked R too much, but it was nice to have and nice to know for me. So Info 350, this is just a basic ethics course. It wasn't anything crazy. Now Info 380, this is information systems analysis and design. I didn't know this at the time, but this is a project management class, like using things like Azure DevOps. If you don't know what that is, it's a project management tool to manage going through the agile workflow, so making sure that tasks are done and stories are done, things like that. So you finish as many user stories each week. You try to have a goal for that for every week and every 2 weeks, and to lead up to one big goal. That's a really bad way of explaining it. It really teaches you project management. So I wish I'd focused a little more on that because I didn't know about it too much at the time. The professor was kind of mid. Info 380 was fun. So this is when I really started getting hooked again by info. This is also the quarter I believe I got into communications. So I became a comm major. So I didn't have to keep applying as an undeclared. Like I just go through university, take the classes I needed to, and then move forward. Summer 2020, I took 2 comm courses because I just got in, and then 1 info course. But this 1 info course would change the trajectory of my career forever. So for Com 303, I took a social effects of technology, and then for Com 381, it was just content analysis. These were just filler Com courses. Yeah, Info 330. This class is called database and data modeling. It's just an introduction course, but this class, I swear, like, it taught me everything I needed to get my first internship and my first job. Yeah, this one class, which is crazy to think about. If I didn't have this class, I wouldn't understand anything about the data world. But this class in particular, I 4.0'd it, I did very well. So it goes deeper into SQL, so SQL, which is the analytics language. And then it went into data modeling. So understand how data connects and works together in the most efficient way to do that. So going into things like third normal form, or like going into modeling data correctly so that it could work cohesively in an effective way. This could be a whole video on its own. All in all, like, I learned so much from this class, and it taught me everything I needed to be a data analyst. Yeah, we also went into like agile methodology and things like that. So more management things and being what it means to be PM in the data world, things like that. And also I got a project out of it. My professor, Greg Hay, fantastic professor, love him so much. We became very good friends after this, actually. So after I took that class, I knew that info was for me. I knew that it was the major for me, and that it was going to be the one that I would want to move forward with no matter what. Like, I was set on it. So I applied that quarter, so the next quarter, which is autumn 2020, and yeah, I got in that quarter, which is phenomenal. So autumn 2020, I took Info 340, which is client-side development. This is web dev, so this is where I'm getting into more of the software development side. I go into, HTML, CSS, Java, and React. I sucked at it. Again, this just confirmed for me more and more that I'm not a developer. I'm just not. Again, it was just a great class for me to understand front end. Front end is very important to know. If you have that skill to at least understand it, you're able to really empathize with not only data experts, but most importantly, other developers. I took Info 360, which is design methods. This goes into the HCI aspects of the major. And then after that, I took Info 430. Now, this is one of my first 400 classes that I took seriously, and that would lead me into more data analytics. This is the advanced database design and management class. So I learned again more about SQL, data modeling, and more just advanced database design, things like that. So what it means to utilize SQL to run like synthetic loads and things like that, right? So we can have like millions of rows tested so we can see how effective it is. Info 430, great class, love it, love SQL. It is the language to learn, and that's where I learned more of it and got even better at it. Because of that class, again, even this class, because of this class too, I got my first internship. Now, winter 2021, I officially became an info major. It was great. In terms of courses, I was taking Com 495. This is just to fill more Com credits because I wanted to double major. I took Info 290, which is the orientation to info. Info 300, this was research methods. This was if I wanted to be a researcher in the tech field. I don't. So Info 370, this was data science, and I struggled in this class. For data science, it's all stats. You need to understand the fundamentals of stats. So things like, linear regression, regression analysis, was a p-value, something like that. Yeah, like it just flew by my head. Like, I'm not a stats person, so it got very challenging for me. During 2021, I took CS 131, which is a photo class. If you know me, I am like literally, photography is my life. So this class was super easy. And then I took Info 371, which was the next data science class. I don't know why. Genuinely, I didn't need to take it. I also took Info 449, which is iOS mobile development. So we went into things like Swift and going into iOS development, but our professor sucked. Like, he was a guest professor from, I think, Chicago. He literally didn't teach us anything, would expect us to do assignments. It like made no sense. So I ended up dropping it because like it was just stupid, waste of time. So I didn't take summer quarter 2021 because I had my first internship. I interned at Intel. And then, I carried that on all the way through autumn 2021, which is last year. And I took Info 442, Info 466, Info 474. 442 was cooperative software development. Now, this class I remember was really chill, but it was like a mini capstone. So we had a project we had to finish, just have a MVP, which is just like a deliverable ready by the end of the quarter. Info 466, this was a moral reason and design class, so more of like ethics. It was chill. And then Info 474, this class I had higher hopes for. So it was interactive and info visualization class, so data viz. Now, this class was supposed to be really good. It was supposed to go into D3, which is a front-end development data visualization language. But for me, that didn't make sense because industry doesn't use D3. Industry uses Power BI and Tableau. But it didn't make sense to me that we were learning D3, so I checked out like immediately immediately because I was like, this is stupid. I'm never gonna use this again. So what's the point of me taking this class? But I ended up doing well. Winter 2022, so this is literally a few months ago, I took Com 481, which is online communities, Info 365, and Info 490. So Com was just another filler. I just needed to get my grad credits. 365 was mobile app design. This one was fun because it went into like UX again. I met incredible people through this class, like some friends I still talk to this day. I never made a lot of friends through Info, but this class in particular, I made a lot of great friends. Love them all so much. Like, they're great people. And it kind of got me back into the UX mindset that I need to go into at the time. It kind of reminds me, even in data, you need to know UX principles and things like that. Info 490, this is my capstone project. I would do a project with the Seattle Mariners. That was really fun. Again, a great group as well. I had great teammates and I loved it so much. Lastly, spring 2022, so just a few months ago, I took 3 of my final classes, which was Com 468, Info 491, and Info 495. So Info 499 was an internship credit course, so I got all my credits from the past quarter, which is awesome. I finished it before, like 2 weeks into this quarter actually, so I didn't have class pretty much. I just got free 5 credits, which is awesome. Info 491, this was a continuation of my capstone project, so I was just finishing up my project with the Seattle Mariners. Love working with the Mariners, they're great. And then lastly, Com 468, this was media ethics. I did not try, to be honest. I just knew this was a final credit, or final 5 credits I needed to graduate with Com. So I took it. I had senioritis. Honestly, like during this time, I wasn't even on campus half the time, if I'm being honest. Like, I was either in San Francisco, New York, like I wasn't here like for at least 3 or 4 weeks as a quarter. And keep in mind, there are 10 weeks in a quarter, so I was gone half the quarter at least. In the other half, I was literally graduating and like spending time with friends and family. So, whew. Breathe. That was a lot of information. But yeah, I hope you guys were able to learn a lot and see what, if you really want to go down the informatics track or an analytics track at a university, what type of classes you might want to be looking for. I would say the number one thing that I took away from my time at UW and with this major is SQL is everything. Learn SQL, like you need to know SQL. Know Python, because you never know when you're gonna go into some data science techniques and things like that and data science methods. Some things are just easier through Python as well. And then 3, data visualization. What I really appreciate and what I love about what I did was that I took a lot of UX design courses. Now, the number one complaint I hear about data visualization people in industry is that they don't know how to design things properly. UX, because it taught me a lot of foundational skills on how to actually design something that a user will want to go through and can get what they need and move on, right? But yeah, I would say those 3 skills are the main skills that I learned from my time at UW, and I'm happy I learned it because those are invaluable to me. I have used them every day in my internships, and I'll continue to use them in the future company that I do work for. It taught me to be end-to-end, which is awesome. That was a long video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this provided some value to you and you're able to see what it's like to be an analyst major at a big university and what type of information and skills that you'd want to learn if you do decide to go on this track or bootcamp, whatever it might be. You do you. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great week, guys. Bye. So at the same time, I thought it'd be great to really shed light. So I thought it'd also be great to really highlight. So I thought at the same time, I thought it'd be great to really shed light on one of 4 years analytical. Oh my gosh, there are so many ways to.